Well, welcome everybody. I guess we can get rolling, huh? We'll call this meeting to order. First item of business, public comment. Anyone here for that?
Hi, I have a few comments. Okay. Well, one is the parking in front of the airport, I guess. And you know, I manage a rental car company, and years ago I was told I couldn't park my cars in front of the terminal. You know, I think it was a little biased because other rental car companies park their cars in front of the terminal. The other day, someone's dropping somebody off right on the sidewalk. I mean, it is, like, isn't it an international airport? I don't know. 9/11, nobody could park. You know, no other airports with people. I mean, this is the weather service. Does she need to park right there? I'm just asking a question. But anyway, I don't know. But, you know, she parks there and she walks to the weather balloon service, so why can't she park in the parking lot? I don't know. I think we need to educate people.
Which vehicle is that?
The white one right out there. And then saying, you know, city cab, I think, you know, they can park by the curbs over there by the picnic tables. Why not? Why not let it for drop-off for elderly or whoever you're dropping people off? You know, customers coming and going. You know, people got to walk in between a boat and a car or whatever up at the parking area. I'm not saying put a ton of signage or anything, but maybe just, yeah, I don't know. The other question I have is Washington's booth. Is that going to be rented, or how much is the rental on a booth, or is there any seasonal rentals? It hasn't been discussed yet.
Good. Well, as far as the parking, I would, you know, for especially handicapped people and stuff, we want to keep it there so they can get there.
I'm just asking, you know, I run a rental car company and I don't pull my cars up. Sometimes I can walk way over there, park in the first row, and, you know, it's not that hard to walk. I mean, if you go to any other airport, you have to walk to your rental car. Sometimes you have to go 2 miles to get your rental car. If you know, rent a $30 budget, whatever car, you know, it's not curbside. You know, I had a big van rented, and they charged curbside. You know, I almost thought about getting it towed and charging them the towing fee because that's not where you picked it up. I'm sorry, you know, and we tell people, you get parked in the parking lot because it's subject to towing. And if they get towed, they get charged too. Ask him a question.
Anyway, I think you have something we all want to make.
Well, it's been discussed in previous meetings too about when we get the parking lot re-straight. We discussed that the rental parking should be way over there versus her bringing all our cars and parking them right here. Probably not an issue now because parking lot's pretty empty compared to what it normally is. Yeah, but it's not fair to the customers that are using them. End up having to park way back there where the rental car should.
My concern is always trying to handicap people, making sure they got plenty of area. But I mean, it's always been pretty open when I've been here. We're a different time. Sure.
Not when you're fine country. And they're going to have a play in October, November, I heard.
Sun country? I don't know.
I heard there's one in October.
And I don't know if Canadians will be able to come and travel on it. I have no idea. You know.
I have no idea. The border's closed till the 21st of September right now. So.
Yeah.
And I don't really think it's going to open up. No, I'm saying first of the year too, Brian.
At least he's going 1 month at a time now instead of 3. Hopefully by spring we'll go to there. All right, well, thank you. Minutes, July 29th. Motion. Second. We have a motion and a second. Brian and Paul.
Just on the members present, members absent. I don't see Harley or Brian's name, but I see that Brian made a motion, so I'm assuming he was here.
I was here.
There's it doesn't show you being here, or that's thing was hard.
Sometimes we're here, but we're not sleeping. Okay. Well, with that correction, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carried. Financial statement. Bill.
Mr. Chair, I would move to pay the airport bills in a total of $26,770.61.
All right, we have a motion. Okay. Motion by Brian, second by Walt. Hey, Bill. Any comments, questions?
One question, please.
Yes.
So have you heard anything about any chances of, with our security, any of that ever changing? And we continue to pay, $40,000 to $50,000 a year for security. It used to be covered.
Exactly. Great question, and it's on my list, but I want to cover it right now.
No, we can wait. Okay, thank you.
There is new news on that front.
Okay.
On cost saving that.
All right, any other comments on the bill? Hearing none, we'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? That motion carried.
Mr. Chair, I would move runway construction phase 2, unpaid bill, $1,802,666.87.
That's got to be it.
We got to put the 87 cents in there. We couldn't get it by.
So Bob gets about a third of that, right? Please approve this, you guys.
The majority of that goes to you and brothers.
Yeah. All right. Any questions on that? Not of mine. All right, we'll call a question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I'll take the last one, the phase 3 runway reconstruction for $58,088.85, Wagner and SEH.
Second. That's more manageable. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Paul and Brian. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? That motion. Okay. That's just done.
Good question for Kyra. How's the reimbursement coming in kindly?
Yeah, we just got another one in yesterday, so I got to break that out.
All right, I guess we're on to Marlon. Engineers report.
Good morning, everyone. This is Sean. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Dr. Shelley.
All right. Well, we have basically our two usual updates here, both with the airside runway and taxiway work, and then the terminal update. I was hoping we could do the airside runway taxiway updates first. Any issue with that from you guys' perspective?
Oh, that's good.
Perfect. Well, Chelsea is obviously there in the room with you, so I'll turn it over to her. She's just going to give you a quick update on where we are on both projects that are ongoing right now. Chelsea?
Her and Kyra are here, so we have adult supervision.
So, as you know, they have done a lot of work in the last month, very quickly. So we'll start with, they've actually worked on quite a few different phases too. So phase 2 was the first phase that they worked on the south end of the taxiway, and that one is supposed to complete. We're still waiting to hook up the taxiway light, put in a new junction box for the airfield lighting. But the pavement's all down, the striping's all there, and it's really good. Starting to grow some grass. So that's that way. Phase 2A is the north end of the taxiway, and they started that mid-July, and they put in all the storm sewer and the drain tile, there was quite a bit of drain tile on that one, and they placed rock, and they also did some edge light installation, so all of the edge light cans are installed. That's for the actual light goes in like phase. And then we also had split up conduits extended for our power cable on both sides of the package. They're able to access that power cable with the new width of the cable. And there should be, we also found some rocks that was in our way for our ditch. So they did some excavation in about 2 days this year, really quickly done. That's been really good. So we got all that complete. And we should be taking that and on Monday.
Was that rock, was it movable or did that have to be blasted? Or?
It had to be blasted.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on to phase 2D, this was the apron concrete expansion, and they did that 2 weeks and a half weeks ago now. So they started placing the concrete, and now it is all complete and open for aircraft testing. It's break early on the concrete, so we know it's strong enough for the aircraft. But we will be coming back and putting in some compression joints.
That's impressive,
Yeah. What's impressive is they did that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
From start to finish.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
They moved very quickly. They did it less time than they were allotted. So, and now we're on to phase 2B, which is the center section of taxiway. That's what from the taxiway area. So they did all of the milling in about 2 days on that area, and we installed a ton of storm sewer in this section. Everything kind of runs through here. So, and they're very deep, as you can see. So lots of storm sewer here, and I've all installed except for one line that's getting installed today. Yeah, this is one of our manholes. Big manhole. And the last item I think that we're working on is this FAA communication cable. It's quite a bit of coordination with the FAA. They were originally going to let us just go ahead and do it, and then we have some other items to place. But we coordinated everything with them, and they started that work yesterday. So they're extending their conduit for their cable, and then placing all the conduit for the airfield lighting moving home to the airport. So we'll have to pull them back only tomorrow. And they're also placing all of their fans already, and they hope to place them by the end of the week. So maybe we'll have to happen quickly on that one. So that's all of the taxiway items. Quite a bit there. I'm read through it, but we also have the weather balloon, which has moved a little slower than we wanted, but they seem to be picking up the pace now. So their building construction was completed, and they have all of rebar installed for the walls, and they'll be pouring the walls on Thursday. So I'm going to be back filling by the end of the week. And the date is September 11th. That's the plan right now. So that's good stuff. So that's my update. Anyone have any questions on any of this?
When they're done moving the weather balloon facility, for Thursday, how are they going to landscape from the apron going east south there?
Yeah. So
is that going to give him enough room to be able to put snow on?
Yeah, once they remove that weather balloon area, we'll actually have the work there. So they'll be installing it. They'll extend the ditch a little further than it already is, and everything will be created.
Because right now it's about 4 foot drop on your honor.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, without that building, and so we're waiting until they remove that, and they'll also remove the there, so there won't be anything there anymore. Building areas to push out. They decided to move that little building to the warming? Yeah, the warming building is actually, it was not movable. It's got a lot of asbestos was going to go out and demolish that, and he actually
have ideal conditions over the weather, except that when it did rain, it turned into, it was nasty out there. But is anybody keeping track of just how many trucks loads a day are going in and out of here? Because it is amazing.
I don't would you like to run into one of their cars? Yeah, they're moving a lot of fans, a lot of this.
But we're on schedule.
For this year. October 15th is the end of the contract date. They should run all of the paving mid-September. And then we have some thoughts about moving all of the permitting.
Yeah, we can't do any paving in our contract. It doesn't matter if it's 100 above.
Yeah, they're trying to do
Or I say, this actually looks so nice. It's finished and call it good.
Yeah. Best service we've ever with the airport ever.
Yes, it's a great job. Phenomenal. Again, my wife walks here every day, and she's just so impressed with what's going on here in Euland's professionalism. I always like to say that.
It's, and I'm not saying it's because the SDH team is online in the room, but the combination of the work of SDH, it's phenomenal. We can get things done. It's an incredible team. You look at the it's wonderful. All members are on the page. There's never a problem. If there is an issue, we're not getting any pushback. We're not getting excuses. What minor mistakes have happened, there's been ownership. Clearly, right? Just instantly doing, we're sorry. We'll fix it now. It's remarkable.
What I like is their relationship with the public. They go over their way.
That's great.
Yeah.
And if you look at the landscaping down there, you would never know that the work was done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
Grass seed in that while they were still, and that broom truck that cleans out.
They go every day, all day long. Yeah. They're incredible stewards of wonderful.
That was certainly efficient. The City of International Falls loves the water meter on the fire hydrant there. But no, and I don't mean to put it all on Euland too. I mean, Euland can only do what the engineers have designed, and so well, credit goes to SEH too.
Yeah, that was only good before he came in. He just awarded a job to you, and I can tell they plan on sticking around.
Nice. It's great.
All right. Well, anything else? Any questions? Thank you for the report, then. I guess, Sean, we're back to you.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add. As you've taken care of the pay applications that we have for the work performed this month, and obviously, we're hoping for a good stretch of weather here this into September and work done. But all in all, things are moving right along. And I checked in with Thor and Karina yesterday, and basically asked how it was going. And I said, other than having your whole airport torn apart, but we're happy that things are moving along, and hopeful that we'll get things back to normal here soon. Unless there's further questions on the airside stuff, I'll turn it over to Bob and for the terminal update.
Bob.
Okay. Yeah, we can move on to the terminal update. I did send through an updated memo to everyone, so hopefully you've had a chance to review that. And I'll turn it over to Krause Anderson to go over the outstanding issues.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We'll kind of go through the outstanding issues on the memo that Bob had mentioned that he forwarded, starting with phase 1 terminal construction project. The first item is the light monitor leak, and as we updated last month, repairs that were done on that southeast light monitor are good, and we water tested that. There are no further leaks that we have witnessed during that water are in process of scheduling AW Kettle and Range Cornice Roofing to get back. I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks and get the metal panels back on that light monitor. I've got some calls into both of those folks and just waiting for them to find a time that works for both of them to come back up and finish putting the panels back on and wrap that up. Further on the light monitors, the other two, so there are 3 total, but the other 2 light monitors that are not currently, we're not aware of any leaks on either of those 2. And we've talked, as you recall, we were curious and felt that the construction methods that they constructed those other 2 light monitors with were consistent with the first one. So could they possibly be susceptible to further, leaks down the road? Maybe, but again, they're not currently leaking. So we did approach the contractors to see if they would agree to reconstruct those 2 light monitors as well, and kind of get some flashings and some details done consistent with what we just did on the first light monitor. But they are not willing to go any further in repairing those 2 light monitors without being compensated. So the first one is done. We'll get the panels back on. The other 2, right now they're not leaking, and that's, I guess, our decision point today is to determine where we go next with those 2. Bob or Destin, any thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I would just like to add that I did ask Steve, we just met about this yesterday, I did ask Steve the approximate cost that would be involved in fixing the 2 light monitors. It's varying. I think on the outside, we would take them a week to fix both of them. And Steve provided an estimate to me of about anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 to fix both of those. And I shouldn't say to fix.
I think we're looking at a pretty clear. Why would we be paying that? I mean,
well, right. But I guess I don't want to say to fix the other 2 because they're not leaking. It's to do the same repair that we did on the first one to the other 2. So it's, where the contractors are, it's they're not leaking and they don't want to pay to spend the time to do the same that they did to the first monitor to the other 2.
Was the install wrong?
Say again?
Was the install wrong?
I think that's an unknown. The one leaked, the other 2 we don't know. They haven't deconstructed them to know if they're constructed in the exact same way. All we know is that they haven't leaked to date.
How confident are we going forward that it won't be an issue? I don't know. Are we $30,000 confident?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Steve, I don't know if you want to, how confident are we that they're not going to leak?
Well, it is a great question, and I'm confident enough in so much that they haven't leaked to date, right? It's been 2+ years, going on 3, I believe. They've made it through, 2 seasons of hot and cold, if you will, and movement and things that could act, on the building a little bit to maybe cause some movement and some potential leaks. So I think they're performing okay. If there's a potential for leaks down the road, it would be in the longevity and lifespan of the building materials used, and whether or not they have the appropriate flashings installed at the window sills, jambs, and heads to, perform for the next 50 years, if you will. What we saw on the first monitor is some inconsistency in some of those details and constructability. That really was, I think, at the end of the day, the cause of the leak on the first monitor was a lack of some sill flashing, the way it integrated into the jam, and, it's kind of a weird shaped monitor and window that caused southeast driving rain to work its way in. Do I suspect that the other two monitors are built the same way? Yes, I do.
If we're on the hook for
But they're not leaking.
Anyway, we look at it, they haven't leaked. We might get 30 years out of it, we might get 30 days, but I'm not willing to spend $30,000 to fix something that's not leaking right now. If it's a year from now, we got to fix it, then we got to do it. Yeah, fix it and handle it.
And I should note that, go ahead.
I would think just human nature, wouldn't they have built them all the same? Would that be most likely? Guessing? Only guessing?
That is our assumption, yes. And talking with Rick Oster and some of the pictures he and I, have throughout construction, they look very consistent, all three, on how they were constructed, yes.
Who did the original construction?
Are the defects or the misconstruction, is that visible from the outside?
No, sir, not at all. This would be how you would prepare the rough opening as it was framed up and how things are wrapped, over the wall and into the window openings and caulked and sealed as the window systems go in. So that's really all we're talking about, is to basically pull the window and install a different method of flashing materials. But again, they're not leaking today. So, and I should note that all the contractors involved in this first repair have agreed not to invoice for any of their time, fixing that first one that was leaking. And I wish we could all report that we found this perfect scenario of why it leaked, but we cannot. We just know that it leaked, and we found where it leaked, but how the water got to that point is undetermined. But during the reconstruction and reflashing and recalking and the methods that were used to reconstruct it, we now know it's good. It does not leak.
It's just a $30,000 liability with piecing at the other piece there. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, well, who knows? Three of them. Somebody could have made a mistake on that. Right.
Certainly a third.
I may not have put them all costing that you sure really needed or sure. Somebody could make a mistake.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's where we're at then. So I don't see other than this was Lincoln.
Yeah, I should probably also note, and we can do some further research, but I believe, Minnesota contracting law would still remain in place for original workmanship for, I believe it's 10 years, but I can do some more research and try to understand that better as well. So should they, leak within the next 7, let's say, or whatever that time frame would be, and if it does go back to a workmanship issue, then that certainly would be a sort of a legal expense that if there were a workmanship item that was found.
Yeah, could be identified, yeah.
Steve, you said that's for 10 years?
I believe it's 10, but I could do some further research with our legal counsel and find out what that time frame might be.
Okay.
Okay.
So moving on then, I'll get back to you on that notion and see what I can find out. But yeah, presently, if I'm hearing things correctly, right now we will leave the other two alone. Monitor them, watch them, make sure they're not leaking in any of our heavy rains that have occurred or in any of that spring meltdown. Balancing valve heating line leak. Moving on to the next item. That was above the vestibule ceiling. That had some glycol fluid leak out of that balancing valve. And that was fixed and repaired, replaced by Shan's Mechanical, and Adam McIntyre Painting went in and did some taping and patching. That should all be wrapped up. Chris Anderson installed an access panel, so it's easier to get to that balancing valve now instead of the smaller one that was present. Kyra, you should have all the invoices. The only two that you should really have that are payable is Shannon's and Adam McIntyre. Chris Anderson would not have any invoices for our involvement in that. So I'm not sure if that leads you to an insurance claim or not, but those would be the only two invoices that you would have to deal with.
Okay. I hear you. All right, Steve.
Next item on the list. Bob, I think if I don't have your memo in front of me, but if you still have change orders on there, we have vetted through the change orders with FAA on phase 1 portion of the project and are now moving on to reviewing the change orders for phase 2. Bob, do you know if there's been a final determination from FAA and MnDOT on phase 1?
Yeah, that's all been processed, and Kyra, can you confirm that you have received the final payment?
Did you hear that, Bob?
No, I didn't.
Yes, we did.
Yes. Okay. Yep. So those have all been processed, and the final payment has been paid, and now we are, as Steve said, working on phase 2, so we can get that one processed as soon as it's ready to be closed out. So now we just need to provide the paperwork. Steve, I can give you, if you don't have the memo in front of you, the next one is we're moving on to phase 2. The next one is the generator. And I can report on that we did get an email from HM Craig yesterday that the parts that they needed for the generator are not factory stock. So they did have to, they needed to have them made. But I have not heard back from them. They were going to check in to see when the parts were going to be delivered and when they could schedule, and they haven't gotten back to me yet. So, but as a reminder, the HM Craig is going to fix the generator and is going to provide the 4-hour test at no cost to the commission. All covered under the warranty.
Very good.
The next item is the boiler, and the commission passed a motion back in June to proceed with Yule to complete the work. And that was going to be completed through TED. We've contacted TED several times. KA has, and I have emailed him as well, but we haven't heard anything back. Board, do you have any additional information on that, or does anyone?
Bob, this is Steve. Thor and I talked yesterday, and I agreed. I'll just go ahead and contact Int'l Company. I've got that name and contact person that Ted had been working with, and I'll see what I can do to get them scheduled. The commission has agreed at this point to pay that repair dollars for the parts and pieces that have to be repaired on that boiler. Okay. I'll see what I can do to contact that person and get it scheduled.
Okay. The next item is the security camera.
Yeah.
They didn't have the codes to install last
someone
time.
confirm. Yeah, that's my notes. Thor, I thought you had mentioned you actually were able to figure out the codes eventually, but I wasn't sure if that's a wrapped up item now. If the security camera is done, reinstalled, and coded.
Yeah, Steve,
No,
the promises were made from the security company to return and get the camera online. The last camera is still not online and operating. The system is operating correctly, but we still they still have not completed their work on the last camera.
So is that because it didn't have the codes?
I'm sorry, Bob?
Is that because they didn't have the codes? I recall last time he couldn't access it because he didn't have a code.
That's what it says here.
Yeah, that was an interesting sequence of events. The gentleman who had the code when he left the company took the code with him. So they had to kind of rebuild some code, shall we say, and I'm being very I got my chip in, so I got to behave. But anyway, yeah, so the gentleman left and didn't leave in a kind and respectful, professional manner. So it took some time for them to get their system back up and operating. So from that perspective, we're back 100%. We can get into the system, they can get into our system, but they have not, unfortunately, have come through with their promise of sending the tech back so we can get the last camera online and get the system operating 100%. We're running 95%, 90% right now.
Okay, so the glass camera still is not working, all right?
That is correct.
Steve, would that be a follow-up item for you or for LHB?
Either one of us. I put in a call to Whalen at Brothers Fire after the last commission meeting. I actually sent them a text about a week later, but I've not connected with him yet, so I will try him again.
Okay. Next item is the phase 1 and 2 connection, where we've had some leaking in there as well. So where we set off was that KA is working with TNT to secure a date to further investigate from the interior side.
Correct. What they need to do is go up and remove some of the tongue and groove ceiling boards that are above the customs post waiting area and see if they can visually confirm if there's any insulation gaps between those two roof connections. It's about the only way to get up and see that. So they may need to borrow the scissors lift if Thor and crew are so willing to let TNT borrow that. And I'm working with TNT to find a date that will work. Last time I chatted with them was about 2 weeks ago. They had some other, fires to put out, but he felt that they'd probably be there about now. So I'll follow back up with Clay at Hammerland TNT and see if we can get scheduled.
Okay. And the last item is the asphalt in front of the terminal. We did contact Yulin Brothers and they provided us a quote to fix in front of the terminal for $33,750. And Sean, maybe you can elaborate on this a little bit, but Sean's estimate was for 5,000 square feet, and I think he had an engineer's estimate around 13,000 that it should have been. Is that correct, Sean?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think that initial quote by Uland, I think they're kind of pricing that as an individual project. Chelsea and I both met with Scott from Uland, and I wouldn't say we twisted some arms a little bit, but they're reevaluating their numbers, and we'll hopefully get something different. So unfortunately, we don't have anything to act on today as they're reevaluating that work scope in combination with some of the work that's ongoing on the taxiway. And we were sure to remind them of some of the efficiencies that work in the apron side, or I'm sorry, parking lot side would have with the airport work. So unfortunately, we're kind of in a standstill until we get a new revised number. But again, we're just trying to look for that best price.
That's all we have for the last one. Was the customs area glass, and Thor, you had a proposal on that last. That was in July. So has that been completed?
Yeah, it's complete.
Okay,
it is complete. Yeah, 1 out of 7 now, guys. Oh, it's a process, that's for sure.
That is all we have for the terminal.
Okay.
Well, the other item, I guess, that I had on my notes, Bob, Thor and I have been chatting, the lightning storm that occurred, I believe, the evening of August 16 and the morning of August 17 seems to have taken out power to the jet bridge. And Thor, I know you and your group have been on the phone with the Ameribridge's technician, their main electrical guy, trying to troubleshoot that, remotely if you can. I know that's difficult and kind of hard to understand some of the codes and things that feed back to them. But what's needed at this point is to get Ameribridge's electrical technician there to International Falls and troubleshoot that unit, see what they can figure out and find the cause and the fix that's needed to get it back in operation. I did talk to John Barowitz with Ameribridge yesterday. He has confirmed with their manpower scheduling folks that they're trying to free somebody up. They've got somebody maybe over in Akron, Ohio on a project that hopefully they can free up in the next couple of days. Their hope is to get a technician there next week and troubleshoot your jet bridge unit. In addition, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. Steve has been very, very helpful as always, with all issues regarding to our airport, and again with the jet bridge issue. On that evening, those 2 evenings of the lightning storms 2 weeks ago, that's about the most intense lightning I've ever seen in my life, and I was paying attention to. It's phenomenal. And but through that event, the airport took several strikes. I'm convinced that the jet bridge took a major strike somehow. The energy got to it and fried somehow. But we can't find it. We've been on the phone many times with the electrical people, including the building engineer. And Steve has been just very, very helpful with that. If I may, Steve, and I'm sorry I burst in on you here, but overly simplify the discussion with Ameribridge is that we're still holding $10,000 in payment total to Ameribridge because of the leak issues of the roof. And Ameribridge has been pushing back, saying we're not going to send you a repair tech until we get that cleaned up. But let me hand the ball back to Steve. I jumped in there. I'm sorry. Steve, please continue with sharing about where you're going to go with that discussion.
Yeah, that's a great lead-in. So I did have a conversation with John Barowitz and told him, look, that issue that has nothing to do with a lightning strike that is an act of God, an act of, nature. As such, Thor and I talked, and if, the commission and everyone agrees, then, this lightning strike research, troubleshooting, repair, whatever it would take, should be an insurance claim. I gave Ameribridge assurance that that's how, you all would be looking at this. But then to go back to the retention dollars being held, which I believe are $10,949.58, which frankly we did sort of lose track of a little bit. I think our coronavirus world didn't let us focus on some of the larger 737 aircraft that come in, I don't know, late February, March, Sun Country flights that over the last two winters you've seen when that jet bridge raises up to a higher elevation to meet that aircraft, and if the conditions are right and, the sun is warming things up and you've got some melting snow and ice on top of that jet bridge, it flows backwards towards the rotunda and works its way in at that gap. So the good news is, you still are holding those dollars, and I reminded John Borowitz that is why, is because they never have solved the Brook Lake, and they need to do so. So he is actually forwarding me some newer information that they've been kind of researching, and different flashings and mechanisms to handle that. It's not the only problem, it sounds like. You're not unique, in other words. Your environment may be unique, but there are other instances where they're having some similar conditions. I think you mentioned something down in Georgia where they've got a lot of rainfall. But any time that jet bridge is actually tilted up a little bit towards the aircraft is when they're seeing this issue. So he agreed that he will give me some further information. We'll do some research, possibly work with somebody locally like Range Cornice Roofing to do some repairs and some fixes to mitigate that water issue and disconnect that and remove the electrical heat tape that they put in last time they were on site about a year and a half ago. So to be continued, continue holding those retention dollars until we are able to get Ameribridge back there and correct this issue.
Steve, have they learned anything from any other leaks?
Well, that's what I wanted to send me information on.
How are we operating the bridge now? Are we just mechanically putting it on? Yeah. So the planes are operating and we're put up and down the elevator or stairways and we do that. So I'll give you an example. We had a piece that weighed about 350 pounds, and it took us 20 minutes to get that person on, using the lift. We had that electric lift that we can use, but that person was so big, it took three of us to get her on the chair and into the lift. And once we get onto the plane, get it to the street. So a lot of people are waiting while that's happening. We're back to 20 again. Luckily, we don't have full planes. This was a normal year with 50 and 50. Yeah, we're in pain. I can't even imagine. Bob, did you have a question?
I did. My question was to Steve if Ameribridge is learning anything from the other installations where they're having a similar issue, and have they been able to resolve it anywhere else?
Yeah, and that's the information John Borowitz is going to send me, some of different flashing types, and he mentioned some kind of almost like a recreational vehicle type flashing and mechanism that you might have on top of your RV. And I suspect it's more in like the Georgia situation where it's really, water, not necessarily snow and melting into ice and working its way in that way. unfortunately, anytime, you're going to be pitched up with that bridge section, you're going to have this potential for backwashing ice and water towards that rotunda. So I think the goal that I've always had with the Mirror Bridge, and we've talked about it several times with them, is to divert that snow and ice and water before it gets to the rotunda. And that's, I believe, adding some additional V-shaped baffles on top of that roof that will shut it off to each side before it ever gets to the rotunda, and then add a flexible flashing piece of material spanning the gap, if you will, so it just can't go in that connection point. It's certainly not going to solve, the brush seals. I mean, it is a rotunda. It needs to move. You got vertical brush seals as you do pivot the unit. You're bound to have some blowing wind and rain and snow maybe working its way through that brush seal. But again, if you wish to change those out with flexible flashing material also, that was the previous recommendation that we had given together with Jeff Ebsen from NSP and all the units that he maintains down there. They changed all of those brush seals out with a flexible Hyperlon type flashing unit.
On a sidebar, that exact same storm event, it kicked out our fuel system to go to our farm. We are trying to quote-unquote piece them back together as we speak. And unfortunately, we're probably looking at about $25,000 bill. In the meantime, the data has to be scattered on the BTU. To be an 121 carrier provider of fuel in the FA, they're constantly functioning at full strength. And so that event, we have to use the test system to do quote unquote the tests, right? So it's kind of we need to get it fixed, and we're trying at this time, but it's going to be expensive there. That was from the storm too. That is correct. I'm not sure that I don't remember. Yeah, it was. There was a high level of intensity go down the air. Good news is the generator ran, I think, about 2 hours that night while I was sleeping. That's good.
Well, again, would insurance cover that?
Yeah, we're working on that now. We're trying to do that.
In the meantime, yeah. But
right, so manual and measuring and water testing and temperature, so it's hours. That's your deductible. Yeah, that's true. That's part they always say.
I won't even go there. We've got the biggest buildings in any city. It's insurance. You're doing good.
Yeah. Can't lose. You give me $62,000 a year for insurance premium years back, you right? Yeah, I'm $1 million coverage in first state. I think on that level, 25 or 30,000 is the decimal. So. For you, yeah, for that, you can't.
Anything else, Steve? Bob?
Nothing more on my end. I did hear Brian, I believe, and understand the urgency of getting Mirror Bridge back there to troubleshoot and get that jet bridge back in operation. So I will continue to follow up with them. I'll give them a call right after this and see if they found anything out to get somebody there as fast as they can.
Bob, anything from you?
Nothing else for me, no. Unless anyone has some questions about anything else.
Any questions?
I'm assuming those numbers on the parking lot are not going to begin until that next meeting. We're going to have to act on that in between meetings, and I'm assuming just because of the paving out here right now.
Yeah, just here.
So.
Yeah, I was agree with that, so we came in
The numbers belong to me, though. Email or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Very good. We'll move on then to old business. Is that where we're at? budget. Fun stuff. They were keeping our head above water.
So, I worked with Sean a little bit. He helped me tremendously on some of the capital expenditures on page 6 for the project for 2021. And we added in some of the stuff for 2020 as well. That will be expended in 2021. You'll see that there. There was only one other change that I made. The revenue side. Page 8. I lowered the income fees for the rent and leases from 50,000 to 45,000 because of the wash fees that will be discussed. That income kind of going for certain things, and so I based it off of the loss of that contract as well as what our actual for 2020. So, other than that, that was the only change. So our bottom operating budget increase or decrease, we're at a total of about -4% for 2021.
Any questions or comments on that? All right, thank you, Karen. And then the lease termination. So just we should go back to the budget. When will we finalize?
We probably should have a motion of some sort so that I can get this to the
To accept this? Okay. Move. Got a motion, second, and a second. Discussion. Good job, Karen. Yeah, good work on that. All right, call question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Then the wash fees, I was contacted by wash fees. They have just asked to cancel their car rental record immediately. So when I received this letter on August 12th, so their lease will end on September 11th for the commission. So we're proving them. We decide what we want to do with that. Yeah, we've had no other inquiries at this point, but it is something that I could advertise for.
The reason, Karen, is COVID, loss of business, or you don't know?
They did not give a reason, so I'm not sure why. Well, they have new management, and Val Miranda, she talked about it before because of new management, and she's not there very often. I mean, not often, but I've noticed that she's not there very often. And the rental fleet has decreased, I think, by a lot. So I don't even know if they're their fleet. They do some regular business, like PTA and two other people. So, and probably some private aircraft, or yeah, I'm sure that's dropped too because of COVID. So everybody business has decreased, fortunately.
So you need a motion to accept the cancellation? Second. Okay.
That's retroactive. Well,
Yeah, that's what they gave this 30-day notice.
And Kyra, what was that? What are they paying?
Yeah, I believe it's $41 a month, something like that. But they're on the sliding fee, so each year it increases for all the but this year.
So their budget reflect that loss of $2,200?
Yes.
All right, motion by Brian, second by Brian. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carried. Okay, and then we'll move on to the manager's report. Sure.
certainly, yeah, a lot of my work was done through the meeting, but we'll jump right in here. Interesting, there was a question from Brian office and spent 2 days on the field with us and working with the Skywest folks and I did the TSA folks. Through that meeting, we discovered that armed security is no longer required as the for every aircraft is party. And we could talk about it for an hour. I can give you the details, but really overly simplified in our security plan, which is in essence identical to Higgins, Ranford, Ridgey, etc. All airports and on our size group. As long as you have an agreement, which we do have with local law enforcement, and we have written in agreement with law enforcement a 20-minute response time. Having said that, of course, and everyone knows that all our law enforcement is set up. You got 911. If it's a city issue, the city shows up. County issue, county shows up. If there's a shortage, they always with each other. And way in the past, other states at least, Mr. Nevin and Wade now had discussions about where the donation wanted the city of the county, which happened to be terminal loans, and there was always a discussion between the city and the county, which is all kind of interesting each other. And so anyway, where it's at this point is that I drove hard on this with the DSA. I wanted to be sure that before I brought this information to this meeting, and very clearly I was told that it is not required. The response time is followed within parameters. The Bemidji, like I say, the other airports with some of our size are doing it in that fashion. What happened was, frankly, post 911, ESA spools up. They built a huge organization, great, and at one time it was required, and that was a discussion. I could go back in the memory banks of the commission, went to the whole discussion about and then the law enforcement, of course, was justifiably concerned about, because half an hour before departure, half an hour after, they're going to be delayed. They have that officer here with us. They have to be dedicated at that time, justifiably, city and county police. The law enforcement can't go today and, we get money for this, costing that is history there. So that's the information that I'm taking, that I'm bringing to the commission to this day, that this meeting, that's just a fact that is not required.
Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, it's great news, but I mean, back to a local business opportunity too, and I think we have to weigh that. Obviously, we're here to,
and I appreciate
to have a correct budget and not spend taxpayers' dollars that's not needed. Also, there's an effect to local business, so we got to weigh that. So, I mean, if we don't need it, we don't need it. But I am just speaking, with Walt. We're part county, part city right here. But response time, obviously, the city has officers all the time from the city, and the county sometimes they're quite a ways away. So I know the city would respond at any time. I know they will.
I mean, the call was they're going to respond.
Whatever the closest
period. I would say.
Something to ponder.
Okay. Great.
Interesting. That is a $60,000 budgeted item. Just
yeah. I think if we could get, that's pretty much written.
It's written on. Yep. And if you'd like, I can push on the subject and get a document.
I would say to make a change, and then all of a sudden they come out and say, "Yeah, we didn't mean it."
I would be thinking about having the sheriff and the chief of police involved in the call code, because that's totally aware of what's going on.
Why don't we schedule it? We'll bring it up again at our next meeting.
Okay, I think see if we can get the time, the sheriff and the chief here, and then also if you could have something more in stone.
Sure.
Mr. Miller, are we contractually tied to the annual contract with them? Yeah.
I'm sure both parties have an oath.
Yeah.
Good point, though.
All right. Very interesting. Yeah. There was a discussion earlier regarding some countries' arrival, and I don't know where this is at. I was contacted by some country now 3 weeks And so it's so where they're at is, and possibly they I don't know, whatever if any information has come to the surface regarding the subject, but at that point in time, it was very etched in stone from Sunfin's perspective that they will not move in GPS. So he pushed the subject with me, and I was just being respectful and kind of said, listen, I said, we're not, number one, we're not trained, we're not insured, we don't have the equipment. And he asked me, he said, it's very interesting what he said. He goes, well, you own the equipment, right? Well, the airport does. I said, no, we don't. And so at that point of discussion, and some countries learning that it's a DGS, obviously equipment ownership is play. And so that the ball is now at some countries' court because unless things have changed in the relationship between some country and DGS, they will have to bring their own equipment. Because obviously, some countries not going to kind of be the DGS. Wait a minute, you usually equipment left, whatever. And then what about those employees? And I mean, so I mean, I can't imagine the expense. I can't imagine the expense to ship the equipment, with train people, cover the insurance, get the training, get it. I mean,
I'm sure that's what they're doing in there.
I don't know.
DGS does all their handling there.
Yeah, it must be points in-house or X, Y, and Z. So get some of the information. It's surprising to me. And apparently what it was, in speaking of contractual agreements on time frames, what have you, is that my sense was is that again, obviously, public service comes on, flights go down, some country talks to DGS, and DGS says, well, great, we have in the contract what it says, and you apply, we're going to get paid for the sake of the conversation 10 times a day, and you guys are flying on, we don't care. That was my understanding. So apparently DGS was kind of, it's just interesting. So I just wanted to let the group know on that.
It could be because DGS is now unified.
Yeah. Who knows? Good way for Jackie to carry over.
We work for Unified now.
There you go.
Saying that there won't be a flight in October?
I'm not saying that.
Just asking the question because it's scheduled for the 2nd of October right now.
So on to the next notes. Border issues. Interesting is what's going on is everyone in the room is aware of it. The discussion is going on with the Canadians, and yeah, we're going to push it back again and push it back again. Of course, it's been going on since April, May of this year, and you get all this data and you talk to these people, and now we're talking possibly in September, etc., which I'm not highly pessimistic about. So one of the interesting end results of this is we have customers, fascinating, they're contacting us, and they're not as angry with the Canadian government and they are with the Canadian people who are going on social media, and again, being kind, they're not speaking highly of the Americans. And so our customers are looking at this, and of course, they're talking to either the camps they're going to in Canada or the people who are doing it on their cabins or homes in Canada, and this information is flowing back and forth to the point that we get customers that are contacting us and saying, hey, we're going up there and spending literally millions of dollars, and so they're still looking locally, as they want to know that people are buying properties locally, and they don't want to go back north. They're literally, they've had enough, which is kind of interesting. I'll be honest with you, I'm not saying they're interacting to the situation, but they're taking it personally. They're saying this is dead. Okay? So it's just interesting, just an interesting sidebar. So
I've been hearing those same comments from people who own properties up there.
Yeah.
When this was over, I'm selling and getting out.
We have a very, very good friend, very good customer, gentleman, just recently purchased a home from Pocket. And he has a castle. He has a beautiful facility on Lake of the Woods. And for that exact reason, he said, I'm done. And he made a decision in a couple of days and got the Giovanni, and now he's a local.
I feel kind of bad when, you start seeing that stuff on the emails and complaints, and I think about it, the United States covers all their military. Think the money they save,
yeah. We protect them. Yeah. one that's not accelerating the United States in summer is that that has a huge piece of the gross domestic product. Huge. So I'm sensing that the folks out east running the operation in Canada are kind of getting a little earful going like, maybe we should change the program. It's not a major decision for them. I understand that because they think they're protecting their people. But it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. I don't think they can afford to do it much longer.
I noticed he went to 1 month now instead of 3 months. So
yes. But who knows?
There's still a lot of talk, and the original anger with Mr. Trudeau has shifted now to Mr. Trump.
Well, of course.
Now, the whole COVID issue between the United States and Canada is the United States problem. Right, we call it.
Yeah.
But you're right on the social media. Yeah, people respond and stuff. Yeah. Do not let them Americans go out here. We don't pay them. Like they hate us. Like they do. Really? Just think of the money and when we can
It's like, oh, hey, they don't break it on us. It's like 20 people watching us on it, and you worry about their picture.
Jordan owners are Americans and they care for hurt them. We digress again.
Yeah, all right. We digress. It's just, it's phenomenal. You wouldn't have believed it. Right? It's just an interesting. I use that terminology. Now to the most probably important subject at hand. Was the DIS proposals from Skywest Airlines and Boutique Airlines. Interesting. Yes, it is. Paul and I, last week, we were not notified. It was kind of short, right? It was a 1-day notice. Yes. Very nice young man, working for Boutique Airlines out of San Francisco, California. Literally kind of showed up on that same day and had a 2:30 meeting, which is fine. And we had a meeting with him and got to learn more about the company, what have you. Boutique is a very small, up and coming airline. They run a single engine class DC-12 aircraft and 9 passengers. They have how many? 2, 3 kicking airs, I think is what he said, or was it 4? Yeah, it's very small. It's very, very small. 9 passengers on those aircraft also. No restroom, no flight attendant. They're wanting to grow in the United States. I was curious, and I asked the young man. I kind of get a sense that someone with money likes to own and operate an airline, and as it turned out, the gentleman who owns and founded Boutique Airlines was one of the founders of Google. So this is, of course, hobby/topic change. Very, very interesting. And obviously we have proposals from both SkyWest and Boutique. I've only had email conversations with the folks at SkyWest and with the boss, so I can't think of his name right now, with the DOT guy. Thank you very much. And so that's where it's at. I just can't emphasize enough. We've got SkyWest, we've got jets, we've got 50 passengers, we've got a restroom, we've got nonstop service to Minneapolis. And super highly recommend that we take this SkyWest Airlines.
Well, I speak for myself. I went to you for this decision because
that was a decision that we as a group, you as a group, we have to make a request.
That is correct.
And these are formal requests from SkyWest and Boutique right now too.
That is correct. And I don't remember the date, the response. I can't remember it. Forgive me.
Responses from the commission, official comments for Friday, September 8th.
Okay. So, and then one thing is for sure, and I learned this through Bob Anderson and through the bidding and stuff. The DOT takes great. They listen to the communities. Okay, they really at the end let them make the decision. Unless there's some extraordinarily high in the disparity in the bid. It has been my experience and history with them that the decision on the bottom county is very, very, they take that very seriously.
Thank you for the info. That's interesting. I'm just wondering, I suppose if they can't get the new airline boutique, if they can't get enough services, then they can't do any of that, right?
Right. And they're a 100% EAS airline, which isn't good or bad. I'm not just saying that was share. Who's serving Deep River? It was boutique and now it's Jet. John? I can't believe it.
You had enough of us. Bob hung in there, though. You're not hung in there.
Granddaughter was going to fly to the Grand Forks. Yeah. She's in Florida, so she drove to Deep River and got on the plane there. And she did one snowflake fell and so delayed it for about 3 hours. Yeah, so that's we need a motion for the Sky West.
Well, one thing about boutique, they're not going to handle the passenger rules that we have. Right. Even with 24 flights a week, there's still only 20 people versus 50.
Plus with COVID, I don't know when along that. I mean, then you got space tomorrow. I wonder if it gets reduced from even 8 down.
Yeah, if you get down to 4 or if you get to 2, whatever the number is, right?
Well, Brian, was that a motion?
That's a motion to request to FAA to contact the Sky West.
Got a motion by Commissioner McBride. And a second by Walt.
Whether FAA or DOT, whatever we that's what we did.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and that's all I have for the
Well, you were on presentation. All your stuff was entertaining today.
Oh, no. I'm so fortunate.
Lightning storms, airlines,
Covers the whole
International intrigue.
yeah, international. You got it all.
Yeah. You can get public version.
Okay. Where are we at now? Down to secretary's report.
Few things. Our budget sponsorship is coming up. In the past, the budget commission has done the ask for game at a monthly rate of $240.
Well, in my opinion, that's a good one to advertise. We get a lot of reaction. The Vikings going to play this year, right?
They're playing.
Okay.
Just not
Don't say Miami's going to have fans. Chicago says nobody's going to be allowed in their stadium all season, so it's going to be by city.
Yeah, how are they going to do it? I would make that motion then to continue on with that with KGHS.
Motion. Well, Brian, any questions or discussion? If not, call the question. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries.
Our Bible contract for the Frontier Yellow Pages Directory expired. The monthly cost for that is $55.95, which is the increase of $1.70 per month over last year.
Are you recommending that? Okay. So we got a motion. We need adult supervision. That's what you said. Thanks, Dad. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We got a second by Paul. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I sent out an email last week. I was contacted by Gary Rubin regarding the Meadowline hanger. They are looking at selling the hanger, and they have 3 potential interested buyers at this point in time. However, the airport commission does have a right of first refusal. So if this commission chooses that they want to purchase that hanger, then you have the option to do so. Otherwise, they would like permission to sell their hanger. We would get in the hanger agreement in place with
Kind of story there. Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah. Well, what are the wishes of the board? Is it hangar?
Yeah, then it goes public. Then it goes private. Yeah, we'll probably let them go.
So then it would be up to the commission then to put out. I don't know, how would we do that?
Then they choose the.
They can sell it themselves. Okay.
Yeah, and then the commission will then approve that new.
All right.
Buyer to get a
lease
agreement with that.
Especially if they've got interested buyers.
Yeah,
Family, I had a son wall.
it just wouldn't pay to get into the hangar wells with only one guy now.
Right. Well, anyway, we need a motion on that. Then.
I'll move.
Go ahead. I'll move. Okay, got it. Any discussion or questions on that? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And the other thing I have is in payments in the packet. We were up to almost 500 in July, so that was a very big positive for the last 2 months.
Well, it's the right direction anyway.
Yeah.
So have they suspended the minimum that we need to maintain, the 15,000? They have suspended that. Yeah, nationally.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the EPA has to be gone. It's election though. Sometimes they don't trust the government. We are the government.
Yeah. We're here to help.
All right, anything else, Sarah? All right, well, thank you. Any other business? Nothing from the board? Okay.
Well, I just, Kyra, we did have some artwork that we've hung in the front part of the terminal there, the not secure area by the fireplace and across there, and it looks good. And then I've been approached by a couple of local artists, Deb Sminsky and Martha Ensman, about they make these art. They're fish mobiles. They're large, but she brought them out, and they look great and cool. Talking about hanging in the secure area, there's so much space in there, so it's going to take a while to populate that. But they were interested in doing so and came out and took some pictures. And then Dave Olson from the high school works with the metals class, and we were talking. I said, it'd be neat if they do some really interesting stuff now. If they could maybe make a airplane out of metal or project, and he's going to come up today and look. And
Is that Hibbing? Yeah. I'm hanging.
something there.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah.
I know I've seen one, and that's what brought that to mind. And anyway, so slowly but surely we'll continue to populate with artwork and yeah.
Grand Rapids had something hanging from the ceiling when they were on the air.
All good stuff. The old sign that's hanging in the jet bridge, right box of the nation. Every day almost there's somebody that stops and takes a picture.
Yeah.
Somebody underneath it.
That is Bob Anderson's favorite. That the whole airport. That song. That was it.
Yeah.
I could tell that was big medicine. But yeah.
And then Kyra made me a mask. It's welcome to the ice box of the nation, so that I wear that.
Nice.
I'm not going to digress. I have to forget it. Wait a minute. The other night I was TV surfing, channel surfing. I came across the big international ball. Not much.
I got this picture I took a number of years ago. It was 2 years ago, but International Falls, minus 46 degrees. I think I'm going to have a big one blown up like that.
What date was that?
It was January 27th, 2018.
That would make a neat
Minus
picture.
46 degrees.
Yeah.
And it's clear.
Yeah. What is it?
See what do something with that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I show those people down in Florida, they don't believe it. They don't believe you can survive that.
Yeah.
They think we're nuts.
I think on the moon's out. We're all living through.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's
Just one last thing thing, I just want to compliment the team on the work being done out here. It's you get a sense of the scale, but you really, until you get out there and see they've done a terrific job, and so I just congratulate our team and thank Kyra for the work that she's been doing with the finance piece of this, because I think it's with the city and the county now, it's working pretty well. It's taken a while to get us there, but I think it's.
And I was loving your email stuff. I didn't have to come up and see that. That was classic. So that was great. That was good entertainment. Yeah, we come a long way, and we'll continue to do so. I'm sure proud of everybody here in Olean.
Thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn would be in order.
Hello.
Second,